Hey Maya, I hope you're doing well. I really hope life keeps treating you right. I've been following your main channel for about a year now. Whether I'm at work or at home, I always watch your videos. Honestly, your channel feels like a safe space. It gives people a strange kind of comfort. I don't even know if telling this story is the right thing to do, but ever since it happened, I've felt terrible. I carry this heavy guilt with me all the time. I'm not a religious guy, but I feel like I did something wrong. I've never had the courage to tell this story to anyone. I'm scared of being judged, scared it could destroy my life. I'm a 34-year-old man. I'm married and have a 9-year-old son and a 7-year-old daughter. Back then, my financial situation was really bad. I had to work double shifts almost every day just to keep food on the table for my family. Most of my work was with heavy trucks. Sometimes the payment was decent, and other times it barely covered anything. I didn't have a stable job. One night in the middle of the week, I was working again, driving on the road. I hadn't been home for 2 days. I had just finished delivering my load. It was around 9 or 10 p.m. and my shift was over. So I decided to head home. I didn't have anything scheduled until around 1 p.m. the next day, and I really missed my wife and kids. I was driving back home and it was going to be a few hours on the road. So instead of taking the highway, I chose an older road. Not ancient, but quieter. Less traffic. I hate traffic. Plus, my truck could handle those kind of roads just fine. It was a sleeper cab, and it wasn't my first time driving that route. I knew it like the back of my hand. I should also be honest about something. Back then, to keep myself going and stay awake longer, I used pills and some substances. I wouldn't say I was addicted. I didn't use it every day, maybe 2 or 3 times a week when I had heavy work. It helped me stay on my feet. That night, I had taken some. I felt energized and not tired at all. All I wanted was to get home and see my family. I was driving through the dark road, quietly singing along to music, when suddenly someone jumped out from between the trees and stood by the roadside, waving at me. I was shocked. I slowed down. As I got closer, I realized it was a girl. She was desperately signaling for me to stop. She was so close to the road it looked like she might throw herself in front of the truck. The road had a slight slope, so stopping wasn't easy, but I managed to stop the truck. The girl ran straight to the door, screaming, begging me to open it. The doors were locked. She was covered in blood from head to toe. Honestly, I wasn't even scared at first. I was confused. I had never seen anything like this before. A young girl, alone, in the middle of nowhere. At night, covered in blood. For a second, I even thought, what if it's not human? What if it's something else? She kept screaming and begging me to let her in. I unlocked the door. She jumped into the truck, slammed the door shut, and begged me to lock it again. I did so. She was breathing so hard it was like she couldn't speak. For every short sentence, she had to take a deep breath. Her voice was shaking badly. With that trembling voice, she asked me to take her to the city. Then she suddenly changed her mind, saying, No, take me to the police instead. Then again, she changed it. No, take me to the hospital. Then she completely broke down, crying, and said, just get me out of here, anywhere, just far away from here. The place where I had stopped, even though the road was quiet, it was a bad spot. It was right in the middle of the road. So I started driving again, moved a bit farther, and pulled over properly on the side. Then I turned to look at her. I needed to know, was she really human? Or was I hallucinating because of what I had taken? When I parked and looked at her again, she looked just as confused that I had stopped. She stared at me with this strange, questioning look. She was covered in blood from head to toe. She was wearing this tight black dress that was ripped. Honestly, I couldn't tell if it was just fashion or if it had been torn. It was so torn that if it slipped even a little more, her entire chest would have been exposed. She had wrapped a messy blue flannel around her hips and between her legs, tying it in a way that barely covered her. Her arms and legs were full of cuts and bruises. She had no shoes on. On her left shoulder, there was a deep scratch mark, like someone had clawed her. Around her neck, there were dark bruises shaped exactly like fingerprints, like someone had grabbed her throat. Her eyes were bruised underneath, and her lower lip was split open. When I looked closer, I noticed she was leaning hard against the seat, using both hands to hold herself up, almost like she was building a support for herself so she wouldn't fully sit down. She was keeping her weight on her arms, like sitting hurt too much. From the way she was breathing, sharp, heavy breaths, you could tell she was in pain. I don't know if it's right to say this. Just thinking about it makes me ashamed. I don't have an explanation for why my mind went there or why those thoughts even crossed my head. But seeing her like that got me excited. It was like something snapped inside me. I lost control. It felt blind, animal, insane. Then I noticed she was bleeding from between her legs, and the seat was getting stained with blood. All this happened in maybe a minute, maybe less. She was staring at me, crying, confused, wondering why I wasn't driving. That's when she finally spoke. She begged me to drive, to get away from there. She started sobbing, saying we couldn't stay, that if her husband caught us, he'd kill both of us. She said he was a madman. And then, I don't know why, but something horrible came out of my mouth. It just slipped out. It's humiliating. I don't recognize the man I was in that moment. I told her, well, if you want me to take you to the city, you have to pay me for it. Right now. The look on her face, pure terror. Slowly, painfully, she started dragging herself toward the door. When she reached for the handle to get out of the truck, I suddenly grabbed her by her hair and yanked her toward me. She was thin, weak. She couldn't fight back properly. I'm a big guy, and I overpowered her easily. I tried pulling her closer, trying to rip her clothes off, trying to see her body. She was screaming, crying, slapping me, trying to pry my hands off, but she was bleeding, in pain, and too weak to move fast. I don't think that God will ever forgive me for this. When I saw she was desperately trying to escape the truck, I started driving. I still had her hair clenched in my fist. She kept crying and begging me to leave her alone. I kept trying to undress her, and she kept trying to stop me. And then, I don't know what happened. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Something snapped me back to the reality. I suddenly understood what I was doing, where I was, what kind of a monster I was becoming. I let go of her hair immediately. The moment I released her, she threw herself back so hard she lost control and fell down onto the floor of the passenger side, where your feet go. Seeing her like that broke me. I felt sick. I was drowning in shame. I couldn't even look at her. What the hell had I done? I was so shaken that I almost crashed the truck 2 or 3 times, nearly drove us off a cliff. I took deep breaths, chugged a bottle of water, smacked myself in the face, trying to make sure I was awake, conscious, and present. She stayed curled up on the floor the whole time, crying. She used her long hair like a shield, hiding behind it. I'm not a violent man. I don't get pleasure from S&M. I believe in love, romance, and never force. I have never raised my hand on a woman in my life. I've never even yelled at my wife. I've never spoken harshly to my sister, not once. All I've ever done is work myself to the bone to keep my family happy, to buy my daughter colorful clothes, to pay for my wife to go to the salon, to get her nails done, to come home and run her painted fingers through my hair. I had never, not once in my life, looked at a woman in a degrading way. And the fact that those thoughts came into my head that night, that disgusting behavior, it's driving me insane. I'm drowning in shame. I feel like I'm melting from embarrassment. Even right now, I feel like smashing my head into a wall. That's how bad it is. After I came to my senses a little, I remembered I had an old set of men's clothes in the truck. I always carry spare clothes with me. I pulled them out from the storage box behind the seat and placed them on the passenger seat, making sure they didn't touch the blood-stained part of the seat. Then I told her I'd take her to the city. I told her I'd take her to the hospital. I reached my hand out to help her get up and move back onto the seat. The entire time, I never once even looked at her. Not even for a second. I was too ashamed to meet her eyes. I held my hand out for a few minutes. She didn't take it. She just kept sobbing. From the way she was breathing, you could tell she was in pain and terrified. In a quiet voice, I told her I wouldn't hurt her, that I was taking her to the hospital, that it would be better if she put on my clothes. I placed a sealed bottle of water next to the clothes and asked her to drink something. I didn't have any food to give her. I reached my hand out again to help. She refused. She tried to get up on her own. It was obvious how hard it was for her to stand. She whimpered as she struggled, then finally managed to sit on the seat. At first, she didn't trust me at all. She kept staring at me, then at the clothes, her body tense, defensive, ready to protect herself. I couldn't bring myself to look at her. I was too ashamed. I only glanced at her from the corner of my eyes. I don't know what changed, but eventually she reached for the clothes and put them on. She drank some water too. Then she moved all the way over and pressed herself against the passenger door. The silence between us was unbearable. That's when I remembered, when she first got in, she had mentioned her husband. I got curious. I wanted to understand what had happened. I tried to keep my voice calm. I didn't want to scare her. Slowly, respectfully, bit by bit, I asked her, only with her permission, what the story with her husband was. Why was she running from him? Why was she in that condition? It was hard for her to talk. She kept sobbing. From the moment she got into the truck until then, she hadn't stopped crying. It was like a storm. Talking was painful for her. She could barely form sentences. One of her hands was pressed against her stomach. I don't think the bleeding had stopped. She was clearly in pain. I couldn't wrap my head around it. What kind of a man do this to his wife? Finally, she started talking. She said her husband was mentally unstable. Since the day they got married, he had been doing this nonstop. She said he was rich and powerful, one of those big shot guys with a respected name in the society, both him and his family. She even told me his full name, the address of his company, where he worked. She said he ran the company with his father. I couldn't understand how it had gotten this bad. What had caused her to end up like this? She and her husband were from a city miles and miles away from where we were. So how did she end up on that road in that condition? Then she explained. After the marriage, she had been living in her mother-in-law's house. One day, her mother-in-law told her to clean her sister-in-law's room, and she did. Later, the sister-in-law in question came home and started screaming, claiming that this girl had entered her room, and over that nonsense, her husband attacked her violently. After that, he took her to one of his villas outside the city and kept her there. To be clear, he imprisoned her, and it wasn't the first time. For 2 weeks, he brought his friends to that villa. They drank, and together, they essayed her, tortured her. That night, she finally managed to escape, and she crossed paths with me. And instead of helping her, I had thoughts about hurting her. and that is something I will never forgive myself for. I asked her, "Why didn't you divorce him? Does your family know?" And you know what? Her family knew about everything. She told me she didn't even know this guy before marrying him. She said that until the day of the engagement, she didn't even know her husband's first name. She had never met his family. She didn't know how many siblings her husband had or what their names were. She said that up until the engagement, she only referred to him by his last name. She said she lived with her family in the poor part of the city. One day, this man showed up alone and asked for her hand in marriage, and somehow her family agreed. She was only 16 years old when they got married. My head was full of questions, but I didn't really have the courage to ask them. I have a daughter myself. I kept thinking, how could anyone just hand their daughter over like that and leave her to her fate? Let anyone do whatever they want to her. I'm married too, and my sense of honor wouldn't even allow me to raise my voice at my wife. At first, I didn't fully believe her. Not because I thought she was lying, but because understanding something like that was beyond me. I kept telling myself, okay, maybe her father was a bad man. Maybe he didn't care. But what about her mother? Didn't she care either? This girl was 20 years old now. That meant she had been trapped with that family for years. And no one defended her, not even her own family? How is that even possible? Eventually, we reached the city close by, and I took her straight to a hospital. The police showed up, took my statement, and I showed them the blood stains in my truck. The whole thing turned into a serious case. I needed to know if what she told me was real. I told the police everything she told me. I spent an entire day dealing with this situation, and that's when I found out it was all true, everything. She had internal injuries. She was bleeding because of SA. Everything she described had been done to her by her husband. She had given me some information about him, his name, his workplace, his company, and I passed all of that to the police. After that, I was completely messed up. My mind couldn't let go of her, of what she had been going through. People say men don't cry, but every time I think about this, my throat tightens and I choke up on my tears. She asked me for help, and instead of making her feel safe, I made her feel threatened. After that night, and after hearing her life story, I made some changes. I cut back on work. I started spending my weekends and days off with my family. I made time for my kids. I told myself, when my daughter grows up, I need to know who she is with, what kind of a man she lets into her life. I have to protect her. I need to be her friend. And I need to raise my son right, to teach him to never hurt women. About a month after that incident, I found a stable job with a good income. That allowed me to spend even more time with my family. I quit pills and substance completely. I replaced them with coffee. It's not the same, but I don't ever want to go back. I don't know what happened to that girl. I don't know if she managed to get divorced. I don't know if she escaped. I don't know what the police did. I just hope that she's alive. I hope she's safe. And I hope, somehow, she can forgive me for that moment of ugliness. I don't think I'll ever be free of this guilt. When I took her to the hospital, I was fully prepared for her to report me to the police. I was ready for it, but she didn't. Instead, she thanked me for taking her to the hospital, for helping her. That thank you broke me. I started crying right there. I couldn't hold it together anymore. And when the police arrived, she didn't file a complaint against me. She didn't say a word about what I had done. Thanks for staying with me until the end. I'm Maya, and this is ms.minuit YouTube channel, a safe place for real stories. The scary ones, the strange ones, and the ones people are afraid to tell. If you have a story of your own, you can send it through the links in the description. Maybe the next story will be yours. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. So for now, goodbye and take care of yourselves. And remember, not all darkness is meant to scare you. Some of it just wants to be heard.